every presenter have 10 minutes for the presentation and 5 minutes for discussion. Any question before we will start? We have number one. Number one is Arif Bayu Pradana. Already joined? Arif Bayu Pradana?
Ready, Mister.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah.
It's not very clear your sound. Hello. Arif Bayu Pradana.
Hello. Yes.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
Okay, yeah. You ready for the presentation? Hello.
Hello. Yes. I start my presentation, Mister.
Yeah. And your title is Study on and Modeling of Energy Power Plant Renewable with Microgrid System Case Study at Campground Candi Perumasan Village. You have 10 minutes for the presentation and 5 minutes for discussion. Time for you.
Okay, thank you. I share screen my presentation.
And please introduce myself.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say thank you for coming in my presentation. My name is Arif Bayu Pradana. In this opportunity, I would like to present about the research, the study and modeling of renewable energy with microgrid system, a case study at the camping ground of Candi Perumasan Village. The first introduction. Environmental and economic problems are the main reason behind the rapid path to harness renewable energy. Renewable energy is the cleanest source of energy available. There is a wide range of renewable energy, but not all of them can be used in remote and rural area. The camping ground of Candi Perumasan Village is an open field in Candi Perumasan Village that has a geographic condition on the top slope of Mount Ungaran and inadequate infrastructure, including the unavailable electrical supply. So that the utilization of renewable energy can be a solution that can be used as a source of electrical energy. So the modeling and simulation studies in this study will be conducted by proposing a hybrid generator configuration modeling consisting of a combination of solar energy and wind energy generation. The hybrid system configuration is then simulated with the software to produce more optimal and efficient result. In this study, use a research method. First, electrical load study. Survey data electrical load profile include daily electrical loads and equipment load, and then potential at the camping ground of Candi Perumasan, potential and solar energy potential. The potential in the camping ground of Candi Perumasan then simulated using a Homer software. Result and discussion. First, hybrid power generation system. The picture show the hybrid generation system in Homer software. In the modeling, there are several components used as input data, namely daily load data, and then PV module, wind turbine, battery, and inverter. And then load profile. The image shows daily load data with an average daily load of 6 kilowatt hours and a daily peak load of 1.28 kilowatt. 1 year's load requirement is 2,427 kilowatt hour per year. And wind energy potential. The figure shows the average wind speed frequency at the camping ground of the Permasang village for a year, which 4.2 meter per second can produce energy output 90 watt. And then solar energy potential. The figure shows a potential of solar energy in the camping ground of Candi Permasang has a daily average radiation value of 4.8 kilowatt hours per meter square per day. And then electric energy production. The figure below shows the best result obtained by Homer software, where the electricity supply use 100% of the PV. The electricity generated by PV for 1 year is 6,247 kilowatt hours. So it can supply an annual load requirement of 2,427 kilowatt hour per year. And then electrical load fulfillment. The figure shows the electrical energy output from PV for 1 year in filling the load. Homer software simulated result obtained PV operating hours for 1 year is 4,387 hours per year with a maximum output of 5.6 kilowatt, then daily electricity production of 24 kilowatt hour per day. And then net present cost or NPC. The net present cost daily detail cover all costs incurred during the project. Total net present cost for 25 years. The large cost include over 25. The large cost include where operational and maintenance costs amount to 69.3%, along with initial investment cost of 23% and component replacement cost of 80.2%. And then levelized COA, our cost of energy and break-even point. The simulated result obtained COA value with PV system 100% of 9,382 kilowatt hour per year. Rupiah per kilowatt hour. This price is greater than 34 times of company electricity selling price. BEP is a condition at which the value, investment, and income is 8.0, or it can be said that there are no losses and no profit. BEP value can be achieved in the 5 years. Conclusion: the most optimal system for the fulfillment of electrical energy need in the camping ground of Candi Permasang village use 100% of the PV system to meet the needs of electrical energy needed. Component PV module require 6 unit, inverter capacity 1.2 kilowatt, and require battery of 9 units. With the configuration of the NPC value for 25 years, if the large cost it don't use it for operational and maintenance 69.3%, followed by initial investment cost 23.5% and replacement cost of 8.2%. The system configuration will experience BEP in the 5 years. Thank you. Well, thank you for your attention in my presentation.
Thank you very much for Mr. Arif Bayu
Okay.
for your
Thank you,
presentation.
Mr. Jaga.
Yeah, very nice. That is from the remote area, yeah, from the remote
Yes.
area, yeah, is to supply the electricity by solar PV and wind, yeah, and wind.
Yes.
Yeah, solar PV and wind. Okay, we open the discussion. Maybe any question or suggestion from participant? Please mention your name and institution. Any question?
Krishna, Mr.
Yeah, please, Mr.
Yes.
Priyo, Iswantoro.
Okay, maybe Mr. Arif, maybe you can back to the conclusion.
Okay. Oh, yes. My conclusion.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. The conclusion of your research explains the best system used. Conclusion, please.
Conclusion. Yes.
Okay. The conclusion of your research explains that the best system use supply 100% of PV.
Yes.
Whereas in the scheme you saw there is a source of wind power. Where is that?
It's clear, Mr. Arif Bayu, the question from Pak Priyo Kiswantoro.
Yes, Mr. I try answer, Mr.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yes, in the research I did use two energy source, PV and wind turbine, but the potential of wind turbine available is not large enough to be able to produce electrical energy output at the selected wind turbine capacity in the software. So the software also display the most optimal result that are supply optimization use 100 PV.
100 what?
100 PV. Supply use PV 100 PV.
100% PV.
Yes.
So no produce from the wind.
No, Mister.
Oh.
Because wind potential in Candi Peromasan is not enough for produce output electricity for wind turbine in my software.
Yeah. But your software Homer input is two PV and wind.
Yes.
That is the answer from Mr. Arif Bayu. It's clear, Mr. Priyo?
Okay, thanks a lot for your answer, Mr. Bayu.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any question? Another? That is just my one question for make clear. That is the research is still still use the software, yeah, not implemented yet. Not yet, yeah.
Not yet. I'm simulating and software, Mr.
Yeah, simulation and software. So
yes,
maybe if the implementation, maybe it's have different between the what the the actual and the simulation.
Output.
Yeah. Okay, this is
Oh,
just
yes. Okay. Yes.
suggestion. If after that the install and what the commissioning maybe any different, yeah, between
Okay.
simulation and actual installation. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Arif Bayu Pradana. We give applause to Mr. Arif Bayu Pradana. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Arif.
Thank you, Mr. Jaka. Thank you all.
Okay, now the second presentation is Fahri Sunanda. Attend, Mr. Fahri. Mr. Fahri? No? If not, we will continue to number 3 is Kamil Mauludi.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Okay, please start your presentation with title is Extension of the Theory of Plant Behavior to Predict Farmer Intention to
Allow me to
save energy.
Yes.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay, please start your presentation.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so peace be upon you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. My name is Ahmed Shamsuddin Bouarar. I am from Algeria. Algeria, as you may know, is a North African country. It's an Arabic and Islamic country. It's the largest African country as well, and the second Arabic country in the region. So the topic, but before that, allow me to thank you and thank all the organizers for this wonderful conference, to which we are very honored to be part of and participate. The topic we choose to talk to you about discusses what prompts farmers to adopt or to use energy-saving settings. Towards this aim, we determine the following main question: what triggers farmers' attention to save energy? We wanted to know what prompts farmers or any peasants who want to use energy settings. So what prompts them and what influenced them toward this behavior? But before delving deeper into the topic, allow me to remind you a little bit about information about Algeria. As you know, as I said before, Algeria is the largest African country with more than 2 million kilometers square of national territory. It has the 10th largest proven reserves of natural gas in the world, the 6th largest gas exporters, and the 3rd largest reserve of shale gas, and ranks the 16th in the proven oil reserves in the world. Algeria also has 8.5 million hectares of arable lands. The agriculture sector contributes 12.3% to Algeria GDP and employs 20% of the population in the rural area. Toward this aim and to fulfill the purposes of the study, we adopted the theory of a plant behavior developed by Adson in 1991. As you may know, the theory of plant behavior is the extension of the theory of reasoned actions, which simply suggests that our human behavior are influenced by our intention, and our intention are influenced by 3 main factors, namely attitude toward the behavior, which means the degree to which a person has a favorable or unfavorable, a positive or a negative appreciation toward another person, object, or issue. The second construct, as you can see on the screen, is subjective norms, which means the perceived social pressure to perform or not to perform certain behavior. And the third construct, or the third predictor of intention, is perceived behavioral control, which simply means the ability or the perceived ability, ease or difficulty of performing or a certain behavior. We adopted this theory to explore as I said before, farmers' intention to use energy saving settings, but we have adapted this model by incorporating a fourth factor, which is environmental awareness. From the previous, well, to fulfill the purpose of the study, we determined the following, or we hypothesized the following hypothesis. Attitude have positive influence on farmers' intention to save energy. The second hypothesis, we suppose that subjective norms have a positive influence on farmers' intention to save energy, perceived behavior control, and last and finally, environmental awareness has a positive influence on farmers' intention to save energy. For the research methodology, the data were collected through a self-administered questionnaire using the convenience sampling method. The population of the study includes landowners and land rental farmers in five most important Algerian provinces in terms of agriculture production. Data were collected during the period from January to April 2020, and 384 questionnaire copies were distributed in direct interview and by agricultural equipment retailers help. We were able to retrieve 323 copies, 10 were found incomplete. That's the analysis was ultimately conducted on 300 questionnaires since the incomplete copies were excluded. Results of the study, we found that a positive attitude toward energy saving behavior plays a significant role in forming energy saving intention. We also found that people who have influence on farmers, such as family, friends, senior farmers, and whose opinions and experience are appreciated and respected, exert a significant impact on farmers' decision to adopt energy saving settings. We concluded, we also found that perceived control is positively and significantly correlated with the intention to adopt sustainable agricultural practices. And finally, environmental concerns and awareness has a positive influence on farmers' intention to adopt energy saving settings. From the previous findings, we recommend that decision makers and different stakeholders, such as Environment Ministry, Agriculture Ministry, Environment Protection Association, etc., ought to strengthen positive attitude toward energy saving behavior, which ultimately leads farmers to adopt energy saving behaviors. We also recommend that more efforts are needed to alter negative attitude of farmers, which often stems from erroneous information and bad inherited habits. We also recommend that invigorating decision leaders' contribution to raise farmers' awareness and motivate them to adopt eco-friendly behavior that promotes saving energy. We also recommend that agriculture consultants and agricultural engineers and other employees in the agriculture and environment sectors need to periodically visit farmlands and fields to remove all sorts of hurdles that farmers may face, as well as explain and clarify to them saving energy behavior procedures and assist them in the areas where using technology is needed. It is also the last recommendation, it is also of a vital importance to strengthen the role of different entities and organizations such as media, universities, mosques, as well, professionals and non-government organizations, and assure the combination of their efforts to rise and impart knowledge to all members of the society, especially farmers, through a well-determined strategy that aims to first increase farmers' awareness regarding environmental hazards, especially energy squandering behavior. Second, making farmers aware of the different practices related to energy saving, such as reducing unnecessary consumption and rationalizing consumption. And third, advertising the personal and public benefits of adopting energy saving behavior and highlighting the negative implication of wasting energy. Like any other human effort and like any other study, our study is not without limitation. Among the limitation, we mentioned that the obtained results cannot be generalized since the sample of the study is a convenience sample. The study addressed energy saving behaviors in general. Hence, we suggest for future research to address specific kind of energy settings such as electricity or oil, for example. The current study also incorporated a single variable into the theory of plant behavior model, which is environmental awareness. Thus, other studies may add psychological variables such as religious commitment level, ethical commitment, past experience, energy saving practices awareness, and perceived benefits. We also, our study also is limited that it's focused on psychological factors only. However, external factors such as government support, protecting environment association pressure, taxes and fees exert a significant influence on energy saving intention as well. Therefore, we highly recommend more studies to be carried out on other potentiality influencing factors. That's all what I have. Thank you so much for your attention. I'll be welcoming any question. I wish I was as brief as necessary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed, for your presentation. Just need ask Mr. Ahmed knows
Yes.
you stay at Algeria, is correct?
Yes, I am in Algeria right now. Yes.
Okay, what time now at Algeria?
It is 9:40 a.m.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
We have 6 hours difference.
6 hours different, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you are in the future and I am in the past with 6
Yeah,
hours.
thank you.
Thank you so
So,
much. Thank you.
You come from University of Media, yeah?
Of media, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Department of Commerce, yeah, correct. Yeah?
Yes. Or commercial studies, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's been very
Yeah.
honoring to me to be part of this conference and to interact with Indonesian teachers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Maybe any question from the participant? If any question, please mention. the
Pak
name.
Jaka, mohon izin, Pak.
Please.
One question, Pak Jaka. My name is Franciscus from Universitas Diponegoro. Pak Ahmed,
Yes.
can I? How are you, Pak? All good.
I'm
Pak?
doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you. How about you?
Good, Pak. Great, Pak. One question from me, Pak Ahmed.
Yes, sure.
You're using a quantitative method, right?
Yes.
So, what statistical method did you use to prove the hypothesis that you have made, Pak? Thank
Okay,
you,
so
Pak Ahmed.
My pleasure. We use the SPSS to analyze the hypothesis. We also use the linear regression, multilinear regression analysis in order to test our hypothesis. For such studies, SPSS is highly recommended, along with AMOS as well. But since we didn't have the final version of AMOS, our study was confined on using the SPSS by using multiple linear regression analysis to test our hypothesis.
Thank you, Pak Ahmed. If you're using the linear regressions, then the distribution is normal, right? Or
absolutely.
Or okay, Pak. Thank you, Pak.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Ahmed. Pak Jaka.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Terima
My
kasih.
pleasure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Franciscus. Yeah. Sorry. Hello.
Hello. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, Mr.
I can hear you.
Ahmed. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Any question? Another? Okay, maybe just to need we want to know about the Algeria, Mr.
Yes.
Ahmed. Yeah.
Yes, sure.
The farmer of from the Algeria. Maybe you know.
Please, can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. What about the behavior for the saving energy?
Well,
Maybe
for
you
saving,
can-
yes, we specifically studied farmers' intention to save energy. Unfortunately, we found that their awareness along with is very low due to the electricity. I mean,
Yes.
yes, to electricity. So a lot of farmers doesn't even know what are the benefits of saving energy. They don't even, our agriculture sector here is still very primitive, relying mostly on human labor. This is due to a lot of factors, including the civil war that took place here in Algeria during the 90s, where a lot of farmers left rural areas and remote areas and immigrated in cities for safety. So that was a very that contributed enormously to the low using of new technologies in agriculture sectors, and it has also contributed to the low interest to develop in agriculture, since all the efforts were exerted to restore safety and security for Algerians.
And then how much the farmer pay every month for the electricity around the average?
I don't have really the exact statistics, unfortunately, but I can provide you with some if we can share our emails or something. I can provide you with some. Even the statistics are not very accurate here, because a lot of farmers just use farming for living and for limited areas. So and also Algeria suffers from the curse of resources, since we depend mostly on oil revenues and petroleum revenues. So there is a little interest to develop agriculture at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay, we give applause to Mr. Ahmed, and also connect Mr. Kamel, yeah. Now join also Mr. Kamel, yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Kamel.
Mr. Kamel. Actually, Kamel is. I don't know if he's here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clear.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And
most welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, and we give applause to Mr. Ahmed and Mr. Kamel. Yeah.
Thank
From
you,
the Algeria. Thank you, and we give applause, yeah, to Mr.
Thank you so
Kamel
much.
and Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We continue from the presentation number 4. Number 4 is Triwinarno. Join.
Yes, I'm here, Mr.
Hello, Mr. Triwinarno.
Yeah, can you hear my voice?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mr.
I'm here.
Triwinarno, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, please. You have 10 minutes for the presentation and continue to discussion 5 minutes. Please start, Mr. Triwinarno.
Okay, thank you. But first, I'm sorry, Mr. Ahmed. Can you stop your sharing?
Hello?
Yes. Mr. Ahmed, can you stop the sharing?
Mr. Ahmed.
Yeah, he's still sharing his.
Oh, yeah. Please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ahmed, can you stop your sharing?
Yeah. Please, maybe. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Ahmed.
No here, yeah, Mr. Ahmed, yeah. I think no here.
Sorry.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm sorry. Can you stop your sharing?
My sharing? Yeah. How can I do it?
Just maybe 2 or 3 minutes, yeah, because time is limit.
Actually, just a moment. I have some technical issues. I'll disconnect right away, and then I'll join you. Okay.
Hello. Hello? Any hear my sound?
Yes.
Mr. Ahmed or Mr. Kamel? Hello? Maybe better we continue number 4, yeah, on the presentation. Mr. Triwinarno,
Yes.
please.
Okay.
Please start, Mr. Triwinarno.
Okay, thank you, Pak Jaka, for your opportunity. Yes, I am Triwinarno from Geological Engineering Department, Universitas Diponegoro. And I will represent my team, which consists of me, Triwinarno, Reddy Setiawan, and Edo Istimawan Adiputra, and I will present our research titled The Relationship of Asphalt-Bearing Rocks and the Asphalt Quality at Sandangpangan Area, Buton Island, South Sulawesi. This is the outline of our research. First is introduction, then literature review, then methodology, then result and discussion, and conclusion. Introduction. Indonesia has one of the world's natural asphalt potentials, namely Buton Asphalt, which is referred locally as Asphalt Buton or Asbuton. The potential of Buton Asphalt is one of the largest natural asphalt reserve in the world, estimated about 677 million tons, or equivalent to 170 million tons of oil asphalt. And these are various kinds of lithology found in Buton area. So it is necessary to analyze the differences of asphalt content in each of these different asphalt bearing rocks. The analysis carried out in this research will bitumen and moisture content using Socrates methods, XRF and petrographic analysis to determine the characteristic of asphalt content in each type of asphalt bearing rocks. The research was carried out at Asphalt Quarry at Sandangpangan area, South Buton Island, Southeast Sulawesi. And the purpose of this research is to determine the quality of asphalt based on bitumen and moisture content, XRF and petrographic analysis in asphalt bearing rocks. And this is the research area location. Then review. First is regional geology. The asphalt quarry at Sandangpangan area was included in Sampolakosa Formation and the Wapulaka Formation. And the Sampolakosa Formation consists of marl, calcareous sandstone, intercalated with thin-layered calcareanite, while the Wapulaka Formation consists of alga and coral reef limestone, crust reef deposits, limestone, calcareanite limestone, calcareous sandstone, claystone, and marl rich in planktonic foraminifera. And this is the regional geology map of Buton Island. And the second is asphalt types. Asphalt are the varieties of naturally occurring bitumen. Asphalt are also produced as a petroleum byproduct. Based on where it is obtained, asphalt can be divided into two types. There are natural asphalt, which is obtained somewhere in nature and can be used directly or with lethal processing. And the second is oil asphalt, which is the residue of petroleum distillation. Methodology. The method used in this research are Socrates extraction, X-ray fluorescence or XRF analysis, and petrographic analysis. Socrates extraction has traditionally been used for a solid sample with limited solubility and a solvent in the presence of insoluble impurities. This method was used to determine the bitumen and moisture content in Buton asphalt, while X-ray fluorescence or XRF was carried out to determine the chemical composition of rocks. And petrographic analysis aims to determine the character of the rocks and the microscopic composition of the rock composition of each sample, and also the porosity of the rock. Result and discussion. The first is lithology. The lithology in the research area is limestone, which consists of calcareanite limestone from the Sampolakosa Formation and bioplastic limestone and semi-crystalline limestone from the Wapulaka Formation. The first is calcareonite limestone. Calcareonite limestone is the most dominant lithology in the research area, covering about 15% of the research area. And from the petrographic observation, the calcareonite limestone has about 15% porosity, and is filled with black asphalt. Then bioclastic limestone. The bioclastic limestone covers about 10% of the research area, and from petrographic observation, the bioclastic limestone has porosity of about 5%, and it filled with black asphalt. Then the last is semi-crystalline limestone. Semi-crystalline limestone covers about 40% of the research area, and from petrographic observation, the semi-crystalline limestone has the porosity of about 10%, which is filled with black asphalt. This is the picture of the calcareonite limestone, bioclastic limestone, and semi-crystalline limestone, and this is the petrographic analysis from the rocks. Then the asphalt quality of the research area. The determination of asphalt quality in the research area based on the result of bitumen and test water content, XRF analysis, and petrographic observation of the asphalt-bearing rocks can be seen in the table 1. These are 3 types of lithology: calcareonite limestone, sample number 1, number 2, and number 3. Then bioclastic limestone, sample number 4 and number 5, and semi-crystalline limestone, sample number 6. And this is the bitumen content, water content, CaO content, and the porosity of each rock. The discussion, the bitumen content. The bitumen content of the rock, asphalt-bearing rock, is analyzed with Socrates method, and based on Badan Standarisasi Nasional, rocks with bitumen content of 18 to 24% was categorized as good. And the rock in the research area, sample number 2 and number 3, which are calcareonite limestone, is the highest bitumen content from other rocks, bioclastic limestone and semi-crystalline limestone. Then the water content, based on Badan Standarisasi Nasional, rocks with water content less than 16% was categorized as good, and all sample from research area have less than 16% of our moisture content. So the water content of Buton asphalt is very, very low. Then from the XRF analysis, which is to analyze the CaO content, all the sample have CaO content more than 50%, and it is related to the porosity, which is the less CaO content in the rock matches the higher porosity. So based on the XRF analysis, sample number 2 and number 3, which are calcareonite limestone, again are suitable for further exploration and exploitation of asphalt processing. Then from petrographic analysis, which is aims to determine the porosity of the rocks. The porosity of the rock, the biggest porosity is also calcareonite limestone, which have high porosity. So from the explanation above, it can be concluded that samples which have good asphalt quality are sample number 2 and number 3, which the asphalt-bearing rock types are calcareonite limestone. And from the previous research of Buton asphalt from different locations at Bungi Village, Buton Island, using the same method, showed the bitumen content range from 22.60% to 25.70%, and the water content range from 6.8% to 7.5%. The bitumen content of Buton asphalt from Bungi Village is similar with the bitumen content of Sandang Pangan area, which range from 18 to 24%, but the water content of the Buton asphalt from Bungi Village is higher than the water content of Buton asphalt from Sandang Pangan area, which range from 0.6% to 2.3%. but no data available for the lithology of asphalt-bearing rocks, the CaO content, and porosity from Bungi Village. Conclusion, the lithology of the research area is limestone, which consists of calcareous limestone, bioplastic limestone, semi-crystalline limestone. The bitumen content of calcareous limestone is 4.5 to 38.5%, bioplastic limestone is 3.8 to 14.6%, and semi-crystalline limestone is 14.6%. The water content of calcareous limestone is 2.3 and to 2.4%. Bioplastic limestone is 0.6 to 1.3%, and semi-crystalline limestone is 2.0%. The CaO content of calcareous limestone is 63.78 to 90.38%. Bioplastic limestone is 92.8 to 99.13%, and semi-crystalline limestone is 95.38%. The porosity of calcareous limestone is 15 to 20%. Bioplastic limestone is 7 to 8%, and semi-crystalline limestone is 10%. Based on the analysis, the lithology which has high asphalt quality is calcareous limestone. So, and this is the references we use in this research, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Triwinarno, for your presentation. Is very good, yeah, about the research on the asphalt at the Buton, yeah, at the Buton, yeah, Buton Island, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe any question or suggestion from the participant? Any question or suggestion about the asphalt? If no, maybe just discussion to Mr. Triwinarno, because maybe every participant want to know about the Buton Island, yeah, Buton Island. So have the potential from the asphalt. If we look the potential capacity, how long maybe if the asphalt will use until finish, maybe 10 years will finish, or the potential 170 million ton, yeah. Or
yes.
How much the potential?
If we want to know how long the asphalt reserve in Buton Island will last, we must have the average use of the asphalt Buton from the Buton Island. I'm sorry, I don't have the data how many asphalt from Buton Island used in the development of our country. So we cannot count how long the Buton asphalt will last for our need.
Okay. So if we don't have the data to the explore on the per years, yeah, how many tons, yeah.
Right, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Triwinarno. Any question or suggestion from the participant? No? Okay, we give applause to Triwinarno on the presentation. Thank you very much. And give applause to you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Triwinarno. Okay, and then we continue for the number 5 is the Maria Carissa. Attends, Mrs. Maria Caria?
Yes, Pak Jaka.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please, presentation 10 minutes, yeah, and then we continue discussion 5 minutes. Please, Mrs. Maria.
Yeah, I have already sent video about my presentation, Pak Jaka.
Oh, okay. I will ask to.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, please. about the sound? No?
There is no sound, Pak Jaka.
Oh, no sound. Okay, okay.
There is no sound from the video, Pak Jaka. Can you?
Hello,
Yeah.
from the committee, no sound? Hello?
Yes. Okay. Should be a sound from that
Yeah, no?
presentation.
Hmm.
Okay. Maybe I can presentation from
Okay, okay, please.
here.
Spread and transmission of the coronavirus.
Okay.
The
thank you.
statistical data, the hotel condition in each province has not much different. Like the occupancy profile of star hotels in Central Java province, it has decreased by the average of 18.7% in 2020 compared to the occupancy rate in 2019 and 2018. Of course, a low occupancy rate will result in imbalance between operational costs and hotel revenues. By trying to stay operational, it will make hotels suffer a lot of losses. Hotel management policies are of course inseparable from the consideration of efficiency and effectiveness of all aspects of hotel management, such as energy costs. There are 4 groups of variable use, namely energy, hotels, COVID, and the tropical climate. Finally, the 2 main objectives in this discussion are the profile of energy consumption before and during the pandemic in hotel buildings, and is there any relationship between climate aspect, morning sunlight, and the choice of hotel room location. To meet the above objective, we carry out direct field measurements in January 2019 to December 2020 and use secondary data on visitor profiles as well as mathematical calculation of their energy consumption. It means there were 3 groups of steps that we take in obtaining the field data: analysis of hotel room user profiles, energy use analysis, analysis of the choice of hotel room location during a pandemic. It means there were 4 groups of steps that we take in obtaining the field data. First, building energy data. Second, hotel building physical data. Third, non-physical data of hotel buildings. 4. Hygrothermal profile based on room location orientation. The object of this observation is Greenwich Hotel, which is located on Sultan Agung 96 Semarang. This hotel building has a principal orientation toward the west, with main entrance on the west side and side entrance on the south and north side of the building. This hotel, about 80%, uses a glass material facade of double-tempered laminated blue 6 mm plus 6 mm, which is located in almost all orientation of the building. The main tool used in this research is the Hygrothermo data logger. For the technical field measurements, 4 pieces of the tool were needed, which were placed on the exterior and interior of the 2 different room locations, east-west and north-south. It can be seen from the table during pre-pandemic era, the largest occupancy profile occurred in July with 3,506 rooms, and the lowest in May as many as 2,289. An average of 140 rooms per day was occupied in July. 114 rooms out of 180 rooms equals 97% occupancy. And an average of 74 rooms per day was rented in May. 74 out of 180 rooms equals 64% occupancy. Figure 5 visualizes the downturn in the pandemic era. The decline in occupancy rates began in March 2020 until it reached its peak. Hotel had to be closed until in June 2020. The hotel life slowly revived until the end of 2020. Even though hotel occupancy was still far from normal, amidst the government support via circular letter to start opening public facilities for public under strict health protocol. We are limited to calculating the recap total level of electrical energy consumption from the electricity needs of the room units and some of its supporting facilities. We compare the difference in electrical energy needs that occurred in 2019 with the energy needs that occurred in 2020 in this pandemic era. The limitation of electricity needs in focus on the energy used in the room unit and its supporting facilities only. The need for electrical energy in each room can be seen in the table 3. If we take into account the effect of decreasing hotel room occupancy in 2019 and 2020, percentage of the decline is significantly identical to the quantity of hotel room occupancy, namely, from the 2019 to 2020, they experienced a deficit reduction in the cost of electrical energy by 47%. If we compare the choice of west and east orientation, it turns out that visitors prefer the western option. Whereas the south and north orientation rooms, the choice of many visitors is in the south orientation. When it is related to this pandemic condition where people take advantage of the morning sun and try to get the maximum natural air circulation, this doesn't appear in the room choice. The comparison data temperature profile to the room for 24 hours from the 4 orientation measurements were carried out on the same week in March 2021, showing that the climatic conditions of the city of Semarang are relatively stable during the measurement. When associated with visitor choices based on room orientation, the most choices are west and south have lower average daily temperatures. Regarding energy consumption, looking again at the architectural design of the Greenwich Hotel room, which was designed close, meaning that all rooms are designed to be fully facilitated with the use of air conditioning. So this room for west and south orientation has a lower cooling load than the east and south oriented. The ratio of humidity profile to room for 24 hours from the 4 orientation is relatively linear, with the highest sequence of daily average air humidity are south orientation room and west orientation room about 62 until 66% average daily humidity, while north and east orientation rooms are relatively the same around 54 until 55% average daily humidity. That brings us to the end of our presentation. In brief, Greenwich Hotel is one of the star hotels located in the city of Semarang. While a pandemic condition in May 2020, the activity or occupancy rate has decreased by 0%. The effect of this pandemic also has a significant impact of the consumption of electrical energy. The rise of hotel occupancy rates is very slow even in December. Many government outputs related to health programs have also played a role reviving the operation of the Star Hotel. I sincerely appreciate your attention today. If you have questions regarding the focus of this presentation, please feel free to contact us at karisalili@gmail.com, dr.ediprianto@yahoo.fr.
Thank you very much for Miss Maria for your video, and very nice and very good for your video. Now we have 5 minutes for the discussion. Maybe any question or suggestion from the participant? Please, if any suggestion or question to Miss Maria. Any question or suggestion? I think we look Mr. Edi Prianto also joined before.
Yes. Yeah.
Now it's left again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still join or left, Mr. Edi Prianto?
Mr. Edi Prianto has another presentation in another room.
Oh, okay. Okay. Another room, yeah. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, maybe just need one question because that is the very nice research, yeah, about the according the pandemic, and then the occupation from the hotel is decreased, yeah, decreased, and then how much the kilowatt per kilowatt hours, yeah, per room, yeah. That is same if before pandemic and during pandemic, the consumption energy.
Yeah, it's relatively same, Pak Jaka, because yeah, as I say in my presentation.
So it is still same, yeah, but the another consumption, yeah, maybe for the lighting, on the lobby, and then still need consumption, yeah. So that is the cannot saving, yeah, because must be on, yeah, and the lobby, yeah. During pandemic, we cannot turn off the lobby lamp, yeah.
Lobby lamp, lift,
And so on, yeah. That is the consumption still needed, yeah. So that is the problem. So the pay still higher, yeah, during the pandemic. It's correct.
Yeah. Correct, Pak Jaka.
Yeah. So the hotel lost the money, yeah, during the pandemic because to pay the electricity bill on the lift, on the land,
other facilities.
Yeah. But
Such
the
as
occupation is low, yeah. That is the problem.
Yeah, until now.
Yeah. Okay. Any question or suggestion? Okay. If not, thank you very much, Miss Maria, and we give applause to you. Okay. Thank you, Miss Maria. Now we continue from the Mr. Priyo Keswantoro with the title is Electrical Visibility Analysis on Post Insulator of Epoxy Resin Material Design to Separate Fin with Metal Fitting. Mr. Priyo, please start, and you have 10 minutes for the presentation, and then after that we continue for the discussion 5 minutes. Please, Mr. Priyo Keswantoro.
Pak Jaka.
Hello, Mr. Priyo? No sound.
Sorry, maaf Pak Jaka. Assalamualaikum
please start.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Introduce, my name is Priyo Biswantoro. I'm from Diponegoro University. Please, in this opportunity, I will present my research with title The Analysis of Electrical Feasibility on Post Insulator of Epoxy Resin Material Designed to Spirit Sands with Metal Fittings. Table of content consists of 5. 1. Introduction, literature review, research method, result and discussion, and conclusion. Introduction. Dielectric characteristic. Insulator with polymer material have good dielectric characteristic, volume resistivity, and thermal characteristic, good hydrophobic characteristic. Feasibility and ability on insulator epoxy resin material. How is the ability and feasibility of the post insulator by epoxy resin material with silica sand and silicon rubber as filler with fitting metal when electrical test? Efficiency of material. The on-post insulator with designed to spare side plug and ply model. If there is damage to only side, there is no need to replace the entire insulator, but simple replace the damaged part of the insulator. Insulating material. Insulating is the nature of the material that serves to electrically spare to all more adjacent voltage electric transmission, so that there is no leakage of current, no flash over arcing or spark over. Insulator characteristic consists of 2. First, electrical characteristic. An insulator resistant to be able to withstand an electric voltage, and a good insulator must have a large dielectric strength and mechanical characteristic. The insulator mixed material of both insulator of epoxy resin material. 1. Resin epoxy, because good dielectric characteristic, volume resistivity, good thermal characteristic, and hydrophobic. 2. Silicon rubber, because high hydrophobic, low surface conductivity, and like. And last, silica sand, increase the mechanical value of material. Insulator feasibility parameter. A. Creepage distance and arc distance characteristics. Creepage distance is nominal. Creepage distance is the total distance of the insulator or the source trajectory tracing of the insulator surface that connect to the conductive part of the insulator with the bottom of the conductive insulator. This figure describe creepage distance. And B, resistivity insulation capability, to determine the condition of the insulation of an electrical equipment for safe operation. According to VDA standard, 1 kilovolt equal 1 megaohm. The figure is so insulator testing resistant insulation testing. C. Hypothesis capability. Purpose of the HEVI test is to determine if there is a current leak when the insulator is supplied with direct voltage with supply 35 kilovolt. And D. Power frequency resistance voltage capability or return voltage to determine the electric strength of the insulator against high voltage. Research steps. Mix of the material, epoxy resin 35%, hardener 35%, silica sand 15%, silicon rubber 15%. With electrical test of insulator, creepage distance, arc distance, insulation resistance, heavy DC test, and hypothesis and breakdown voltage. Epoxy resin insulator design, insulator top design and insulator bottom design. With testing previous distance or distance, insulation resistance testing, DC high voltage testing or high voltage testing, and breakdown voltage. Creepy design and or distance measurement. This figure show methods to creepy distance measurement, and this figure show method of or distance measurement. And insulation resistance testing. Test with a voltage of 5 kV are carried out for 1 minute and as test point with the 3 repeat. Pass to ground insulation resistance testing, part of top insulator to ground insulation resistance testing, and part of bottom to ground insulation resistance testing. And then they say high voltage testing or high voltage testing with 10 minutes with a voltage of 35 kV and record the result of the insulation resistance test and leak current every 1 minute. This is a insulator, post insulator with designed to separate, and this is a test equipment. And last, breakdown voltage. Breakdown voltage testing is carried out on insulator in dry and wet condition, with voltage injection starting from 10 kV and increasing step by step. This is a dry condition and this is a wet condition. Result of measurement of creepy distance and R distance. From resist measuring creepy distance, the result is 695 millimeter in the SPLN standard. The characteristic of the insulator creepy distance is more than 680 millimeter, and measuring the R distance of the test object with result of 358 millimeter. According to the SPLN standard, the characteristic of the insulator R distance is more than 270 millimeter. In this result of insulation resistance testing, with referring to the SA 032 PST 1984 equipment book is according to the VDA standard catalog, the minimum amount of insulation resistance at operating temperature is calculated as 1 kilovolt equal 1 mega ohm. With result of insulator with resin epoxy material, pass to ground, bottom insulator ground, top insulator to ground with result resistant insulation more than 2 million. And this result of hypothesis. This is insulation resistant with hypothesis with inject 35 kilovolt direct current, and this figure leaky current monitoring at hypothesis. At SIGV DUC.60 limit leaky current is less than 60 milliampere. Result of breakdown voltage testing, the result flashover post insulator resin epoxy in dry condition. In table can be seen where the leak current increase when the voltage injection. When the injection voltage reaches 100 kV, the injection voltage is maintained for up to 60 seconds. Where in this result the test object was able to survive, there was no flashover until 100 kV with leaky current 1.2. Result of breakdown voltage testing in wet condition. When the injection voltage reaches 90 kilovolt for more or less 20 seconds, it turned out that the test object experience a flashover. On standard SPLN, mention characteristic of power frequency resonance voltage or breakdown voltage with wet condition is 65 kilovolt. In this research of insulator, flashover in 90 kV with leaky current and time more or less 20 seconds. This is a top of the leaky current, dry and wet condition. Conclusion. Characteristic, the creepy distance is the result has a value of 695 millimeter, and the character distance of the insulator has a value of 150 millimeter. In SPLN, with a characteristic value of creepy distance more than 680 millimeter and characteristic distance of more than 70 millimeter, so that the object that the research test was in the feasible category. And two, with resistant insulation more than 1 million mega ohm, when referring to VDA catalog, calculate as 1 kV equal 1 mega ohm. So that the test object that the research test was in the feasible category. 3, about hypothesis. On average, every minute is 2.5 microampere. So it is feasible when compared to the DOC.60, which states that the leaky current is less than 1 milliampere. And breakdown voltage testing on this research object in dry condition reached 100 kV for 1 second, and flashover occurred at a voltage of 90 kilovolt in more or less 20 seconds. For 1 minute, no 1 second. And flashover with wet condition voltage of 90 kilovolt. According SPLN, breakdown voltage resistance in wet condition is 65 kilovolt. So an insulator in this study is feasible when compared the standard. From the result of testing, the electrical characteristic that have been applied to the insulator of the epoxy resin material are referring to SPLN D3027 to 20 and 16, so that the test object test by research in the feasible category. Thanks a lot of Pak Jaka. Terima kasih Pak.
Thank you very much, Mr. Priyo Kiswantoro. Very nice presentation, and also your research is very good about the insulator. Any question or suggestion from the participant? Any question or suggestion?
Okay, Mr. Jaka, I have one question for Mr. Priyo.
Please, Mr. Arif Bayu Pradana.
Okay. Mr. Priyo, I have one question for you.
Yes.
My question is the high volt DC test on the insulation resistance chart. Why is there an increase in the value of insulation resistance every minute, even though it is injected with the same voltage?
About hypothesis DC. This is result of hypothesis with
Yes.
For the injection 35 kV. Yes, force minutes until 10 minutes. This is increase pressure of resistant insulation because the injection of DC voltage after some time will reduce the humidity. Because inject with 35 kV minute to minute will reduce the humidity. Maybe this is Mr. Bayu.
Okay, it's clear, Mr. Arif Bayu. That is the graph is increase, yeah, the insulation, yeah, it's correct, yeah, resistance.
Yes.
Because the humidity is decreased, yeah. Ya, Pak Priyo.
Yes, ya betul, Pak.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Priyo, for
You are
your
welcome.
explanation. Any question or suggestion? No? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Priyo Keswantoro. We give applause to you for your presentation. Thank you, Mr. Priyo.
Thank you very much, Pak Jaka and everybody. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now we continue. We still have two presenters. So number 7 is Mr. Suryan, yeah. Suryan Arif Wibowo with the title Energy Conservation Opportunity in Coal-Fired Power Plant Through Detailed Energy Audit. Time give to you, Mr. Suryan. No more 10 minutes, yeah, for the presentation because we have limit time also. Yeah, 10 minutes and then continue for discussion 5 minutes. Please, Mr. Suryan.
Yes, Pak Jaka, thank you. And Pak Priyo, can you please stop the screen?
Halo.
Halo, Pak Priyo. Can you stop the screen, please?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I will share my screen. Okay, Pak Jaka, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Suryan Arif Wibowo. I am a Master of Energy student at Undip and a performance engineer at Jawa 1 Combined Cycle Power Plant located in Karawang. In this opportunity, I would like to present our research about energy conservation opportunities in coal-fired power plant through detailed energy audit. Indonesia power plant capacity in 2018 reached 64 gigawatt, with the largest share of coal power plant reached 45%. Until 2025, for the business as usual scenario, it is predicted that there will be an additional power generation capacity of more than 32 gigawatt, or around 4.6 gigawatt per year. Coal and gas fuel plant each have a share of around 40%, and the remaining renewable-based power plant are 19%. It is predicted that in 2025, the total generating capacity will reach 96.4 gigawatt. In 2050, coal will still be dominant with a share of 50%. As the dominant primary energy user until 2050, energy conservation effort at coal-fired power plant need to be increased. Nowadays, the electricity problem is the limited supply of fossil energy and production cost components, which are dominated by fuel costs. net plant heat rate is the required energy amount of a thermal power plant to generate 1 kilowatt-hour of net electricity. Net plant heat rate expressed in kilocalorie per kilowatt-hour. And one of coal-fired power plant located in Indonesia was operating commercially in 2013. Have commissioning result of net plant heat rate value is 3026 kilocalorie per kilowatt-hour at 65 megawatt gross load. While the accumulative net plant heat rate result from the last 6 months on the commercial report is 3,812 kilocalorie per kilowatt-hour. Heat rate commissioning calculation use an indirect method, while the heat rate calculation for commercial report use a direct method. So that the difference in this method affect the accuracy of the heat rate calculation results. In addition, the actual operating condition are also different from commissioning condition, where the actual operating condition can vary, while during the commissioning performance test conducted, the plant condition are maintained stable and the system is isolated. The heat rate increase in this plant need to be analyzed and identify every possible factor causing energy loss. A detailed energy audit can be carried out to identify the heat rate increase in this plant, especially for significant energy user in coal-fired power plant such as boiler and steam turbine system. This plant's most dominant energy source is coal, with 97% of the total energy source used. The detailed energy audit is done by performance test procedure based on ASME PTC standard. The performance test is conducted to identify equipment performance degradation, and the data recording is taken at maximum net dependable capacity, which is 55 megawatt net load, or equal with 61 megawatt gross load. Boiler efficiency calculation use heat loss method based on ASME PTC number 4, and turbine heat rate calculation based on ASME PTC number 6. And there are two bases for turbine heat rate calculation, gross power basis and net power basis. Turbine heat rate is the amount of the energy required by steam turbine and generator to produce 1 kilowatt-hour of electricity. And net plant heat rate can express the overall energy performance indicator of the power plant. Net plant heat rate calculation based on ASME PTC number 46. And for the other equipment performance, such as turbine asyntrophic efficiency calculation based on ASME PTC number 6A. And feed water heater performance calculation based on ASME PTC 12.1. And the last, for air preheater performance calculation based on ASME PTC number 4.3. Heat rate deviation analysis aims to identify and quantify its factor that cause heat rate to increase by comparing its operating parameter that affect change in heat rate and main equipment performance between actual performance test and commissioning performance test value. Identifying and quantifying heat rate change factor use manufacturing correction curve and heat rate handbook by certain company. Heat rate correction curve is a curve issued by the power plant manufacturer to correct the actual net plant heat rate value due to parameter value change in actual condition compared to the design reference value. The manufacturer does not issue heat rate correction curve for all plant operating parameters, so there is a need for other reference. The heat rate handbook by the certain company can be used if the manufacturer does not provide the heat rate correction data curve. Certain company heat rate handbook divided heat rate loss type into 4 categories. There is operator controllable, plant controllable, turbine cycle, and boiler components. This table shows actual performance test result compared to the commissioning. No significant difference in coal quality was used between the actual and commissioning performance test, around 4,200 kilocalorie per kilogram. The result of the actual performance test is at 61 megawatt gross load, obtain a heat rate value 3,523 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour, while the commissioning result obtain a heat rate of 3,012 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour. at the same load. The actual performance test heat rate increase compared to the commissioning was 510 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour, or 16.9%. This increment due to the boiler efficiency is decreased by 0.78% and turbine heat rate increased by 371 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour. Identified heat loss was 506 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour, while the unidentified loss was 3.8 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour. Annual fuel cost increase obtained is 1.2 million USD due to the actual heat rate increase compared to the commissioning value. The result of heat rate deficient analysis is the most significant increase in heat rate was due to condenser pressure increase by 9.9 kilopascal. Possible cause of the condenser pressure increase are air in leakage, excess condenser load, tube fouling, low circulating water flow, tube plugging, air binding, and increased cooling water inlet temperature. And the second significant cause is the turbine isentropic efficiency decrease by 2.3%. Possible cause of the decrease in turbine isentropic efficiency are mechanical damage, mechanical blockage, blade deposits, spill strip, turbine stick erosion, gland seal leakage, and main stop valve leakage. And the second one is heat rate increase was also caused by rise of terminal temperature difference or TTD of high pressure number 1, high pressure heater number 2, and low pressure heater number 4. In addition, low pressure number 5 and 6 is out of service due to the extraction valve failure also contributed to turbine heat rate increase. And the last, the most significant boiler efficiency reduction factor is due to dry gas losses increase. These losses are caused by air preheater effectiveness decrease and air preheater leakage increase. A decrease in primary air heater effectiveness can caused by pipe corrosion, pipe plugging, and pipe leaks. Meanwhile, a decrease in secondary air heater effectiveness can be caused by heating element corrosion, heating element deformation, and heating element blockage. An increase in primary air heater leakage was caused by leakage of pipe heat exchanger. It can be due to fly ash erosion or maybe corrosion. Meanwhile, an increase in secondary air preheater leakage can be caused by radial air seal or axial seal air heater gap is too wide. The heat rate improvement for the recommendation are established based on data analysis and observation results. The number of recommendation for the heat rate improvement in turbine and boiler system area includes operating parameter optimization and equipment repair or replacement. The priority for implementing recommendation is the easy implementation that can be done within 1 year and at no cost. Meanwhile, for recommendation that take more than 3 years, the organization must plan the budget immediately. The projected heat rate reduction, if all recommendations are implemented, approximately 363 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour, or equivalent to fuel cost saving of 903,000 USD per year, with a total improvement cost of 1.1 million USD. The conclusion of our research is actual heat rate increased by 510 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour or 16.9% compared to commissioning value. This increment due to boiler efficiency decreased by 0.78% and gross turbine heat rate increased by 371 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour. Identified heat loss was 506 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour, while the unidentified losses is 3.8 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour. Significant factors that heat rate increase are condenser pressure, isentropic turbine efficiency decrease. 2 of low pressure heater out of service, air preheater effectiveness decrease, and air preheater leakage increase. The projected heat rate reduction, if all recommendations are implemented, approximately 360 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour, or equivalent to fuel cost reduction of 900 and 3,000 USD per year, with a total improvement cost of 1.1 million USD. Thank you for your attention, and please, if you have any question.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Suryan, for your presentation. It's very nice, and also your research is complete, yeah, regarding the audit energy from the power plant. Maybe any question or suggestion from the participant? No? Okay, maybe just need discussion. So the first power plant built on 2013, yeah, is correct.
Yes, Mr. Jaka.
Okay, and then after 7 years, to what do the audit and then reduce, yeah, or increase the consumption of the coal per
Yes,
kilowatt hour.
the energy consumption or coal consumption is increased when we
Increase.
conduct the energy audit in 2020.
Okay, okay. So this is need to improvement, yeah.
Yes,
Correct, yeah.
yes, correct,
Because
Mr. Jaka.
increase until 200 kilocalorie per kilo, 700, yeah, around 700.
Yes, around 700 kilocalorie per kilowatt hour.
Okay, okay. And then how much the to improvement the US dollar?
The improvement, if we implement the all recommendation, it can it can generate the fuel cost saving is around 900
US dollar, yeah. Because your full fuel cost saving is
1,000 USD.
yeah, but improvement is more. That is the problem.
Yes, yes, correct, Mr. Jaka. This is for the one cost. So we put the cost is once. With the total fuel cost saving, we can get the fuel cost saving is in annual. Every year we can get this.
Oh, every years. Yeah.
Yes, every years. But for the investment is we put it once.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Suryan, for your presentation. We give applause to Mr. Suryan. Okay. And then have announced from the committee after the last presentation, we will take the picture all the presenter. So yeah, please still continue to join this Zoom, yeah, until finish the last presentation. Now is we continue the last presentation, Mr. Francisco, yeah. Hello.
Yes, yes, Pak Jaka.
Yeah.
Can you hear my voice, Pak?
Okay, please start
Ya,
to
mohon izin.
presentation and introduce yourself, Mr.
Thank you,
Francisco.
Pak Jaka. Mohon izin. Baik, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Franciscus Novento. I'm currently working as a student in health promotions in Undip Semarang, and also I'm working as safety management system superintendent in PT Freeport Indonesia. My research, actually, this is my thesis. My thesis about the analysis of participant success and failure of the first operational supervisor competency test in mineral mining company at Papua. That will be PT Freeport Indonesia. In my presentations, I will divide this into 4 sections. The first section is introductions. The second is about the research methods. This is chapter 3 in my thesis. And then result discussions, chapter 4 and 5, and then conclusions. We will look further, more deep in the next slide. For the introductions, we can see that from the background that the regulations of Minister of Energy and Mining Resources from 43 2016 mandated that all of the operational supervisors in mining need to have a competency and need to have a competency test for first operational supervisors. We call it as POP or pengawas operasional pertama. As obligations to the government, all of the mining company need to conduct the competency test for first operational supervisors. PT Freeport Indonesia is comply with that regulations. That's why he conducted the first operational supervisor competency test from 2017 until 2019, but the result is only 80%. This below company target because we are targeting 100%. 17% participant that failure will cause loss for company, especially in terms of time, resources, and also legal consequences. But furthermore, if we let incompetent operational supervisors in the mining, that will lead to a potential incident because he's not competent. Now, the novelty from my research, we can, from the previous results, there are many research before conducted in terms of competency tests in nurse, teachers, and also managers, vocational study, but never had research about the first operational competency supervisors in mining company. So this thesis of my research is quite different with the previous results, and the difference is on the subject of the research. So based on that one, we can conclude that the research goal for this one is we would like to analyze what factors related with the success and what factors related with the failure of the first competency test in PT Freeport Indonesia. Based on the some theory research, the Spencer and Spencer theory, the social support from James House, we have concluded that there are 7 factors related with the competency test. First is the training factors. The second one is about the knowledge factor. The third one is skill factor, attitude factor. The fourth one. The fifth is about the motivation factor. The sixth is supervisor support, and 7 is assessor support. So the 7 factors we will target to the success participants as also to the failure participants to get more detail. Why is their failure and why is their success during the competency test? So these are the conceptual framework from the research goal. From the research method is a bit different with the previous slide presentations, because on the previous slide presentations, we always talk about numbers and quantitative research, but this is more about qualitative research. Why? Because we would like to know their perceptions and their experience during the competency tests in PT Freeport Indonesia. So this is a qualitative research where we will not analyze the numbers, but will analyze the words on the interview results. We're using the technique interview results for the 3 subjects. The first subject is group 1, that's the success participants. And the second subject is group 2, that will be in the failure participants, and the group 3 is supporting and key informants. And to validate the data, we will use the source triangulations to know whether the group 1, group 2, and group 3 have the same understanding or there are differences in that one. While we conducted the interview, especially there's supposed to be observations for this one, but however, during the pandemic COVID-19, we have a COVID-19 protocol in PT Freeport Indonesia. That's why the interview is conducted by phone and recorded by phone as well. In qualitative studies, there are several methods to analyze the qualitative studies here, from Spratly method, taxonomy method, but I choose the Mills and Haberman method because it's very simple but very powerful. What's simple and powerful? Because in the Mills and Habermas method, there are three steps to conduct analysis. First is data condensations. Most people misinterpret this one as data reductions, but in the newest references, is supposed to be data condensations. And then the second one is data display. And then the third one is data conclusions. What is data condensations? If you see from my screenshot in the right side, those are the interview transcript that being translated into a software called Atlas.ai program. In the interview transcript, we need to conduct the first cycle coding. The first cycle coding is related to variables. For instance, the lack of knowledge, the lack of skills, inadequate knowledge, inadequate skills. And then on the second cycle coding, we categorize all of the first cycle coding into the factors. The factors can be taken from the conceptual framework, the 7 factors that I just displayed in the first slide. So these are the steps that we do in the data condensation method. And then after we categorize all of the first cycle coding into the second cycle coding, we need to display the results. There are two ways to display the results in the Mills and Habermas methods. One is matrix display, where in quantitative study, we can tell or synonym with cross-reference tables. And then there's also a network display. If you see from the left screenshot, that is matrix display, when each factors will be against the three groups. The group 1 is the success participants, the group 2 is the failure participants, and the group 3 is supporting and key informants. If you see that on the training factors, the group 1, the success participants, tells that the training is inadequate. This strengthened by the group 3 that the training really are inadequate, while the group 2, the failure participants, said that the training is already adequate. In terms of the knowledge, there is no difference. In terms of skill, there is no difference, but there is difference in the attitude. The success participant have a positive attitude, while this failure participant have negative attitude or response to the competency test itself. The motivations can be taken from the preparations. The preparations from the group 1, the success participants, is adequate, while the group 2, the failure participant, is inadequate. And also from the supervisor support, the success participant have support from the supervisors, while group 2, the failure, don't. And also from the assessor that conduct the assessment. The success participants, they have assessor that can support and understand the field conditions in the mining. It's not only theoretical. While the failure participants, the group 2, they have assessors that don't understand the field conditions. In the middle screenshot, I can show you the previous results that significantly are correlated with each of these factors. They have training factors, they have attitude factors. All of them are the previous research that I just collect and display in the network display in Atlas. So based on those two, we concluded that success and failure of participants related with the participant attentions to the training itself. The second one is the communication skills. The third one is participant response as attitude to the competency test itself. The fourth one is the preparations, because this is related with the motivations. And then the fifth one is supervisor support. And the sixth one is assessor support for participants. So we can conclude that the success participants from the competency tests in PTFI, they pay attention detail to the training. They have a good communication skills in explaining their evidence or portfolio to the assessors. They also have a positive response on the process and also the competency test itself. They high motivations because they are prepared beforehand. And they also had support from the supervisors in terms of time, in terms of suggestions, and also in the last one, they had assessors that can understand the field conditions and also theory. While the failure participant is the opposite of the success participant factor. They don't pay attention to the training, they lack communications, they have a negative response, they lack of motivations, not well prepared, inadequate support from the supervisors, because supervisors always ask them to work and don't give them time to learn. And then the last one, they had assessors that do not understand the conditions in the field and unwilling to discuss. That's all, Pak Jaka. Thank you. Here's my email if you would like to contact me. Thank you, Pak Jaka.
Thank you, Mr. Francisco, about your presentation. It's very good and very nice. And also the research at the mining at the Papua, yeah? It's correct, yeah?
Yes, Pak. It PT Freeport Indonesia.
Okay. And then how to interview by phone or by?
Yes, Pak. During the conditions of pandemic COVID, Pak, we cannot in direct face-to-face interview, Pak. That's why we conduct the interview by phone during working hours, and then we record that interview by a recorder, and then I translate the transcript to the Atlas TI program.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Yes.
Francisco.
Thank you.
Maybe any question or suggestion from the participant? Any suggestion or question? Or the background from the participant have maybe the how old, yeah? You not mention the year of the.
Yes. Yes, Pak Jaka. Actually, that's mentioned on my thesis, Pak, in the inclusion criteria. And there's also information about the informant, from main informant, key informant, and supporting. And most of them are actively involved in the first operational supervisors.
Yes.
And also they are signed in the informed consent because they are need to willing to be interviewed. And that's all, Pak, from operation divisions, most of them.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Yes,
Francisco. Now we give applause to the last Mr. Francisco on the presentation. Thank you. We give applause to Mr. Francisco. Thank you very much. And then it's correct, yeah. Now it's finished, yeah. All participants, is correct. Hello, it's clear, yeah. Now it's all participants already presentation. We have one presentation, Mr. Wahri Sunanda not coming. And then time we give back to Mr. MC. Hello. To take the picture, maybe better all participants is
yes.
turn on the camera.
Okay. 1,
please.
2.
Already? All?
Already? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Once more. 1, 2, 3. Yes.
And then all participants already fill the absent, yeah? It's correct, yeah? Okay, all already fill the absent. Okay, thank you very much. And then time give back to MC to closing this room. Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. And the plenary parallel session is finished. And see you tomorrow. And thank you for moderator and all participant in this parallel session. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pak. Selamat sore.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much all, Mr. Ahmed, Mr. Arif, Mr. Suryan, Mr. Triwinarno, Mr. Francisco, Pak Priyo Kuswantoro. Thank you for your
Thank you
coming.
all.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
success for you all. Okay, thank
Terima
you.
kasih Pak Jaka, sukses selalu,
Okay,
salam
we
sehat
leave ya.
semua.
Okay.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, Mr. Ahmed. Yeah, we leave.